Well, hello there.
Hi.
Gosh. So yeah, we it's good to see you one-on-one. We've run in the same circles now for a number of years, but never really engaged one-on-one. And I've been looking forward to having you on No Thanks But Yes, and finding out a little bit more about you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to do this.
Oh, that's great, and I'm glad to hear it. So, who are you?
Who am I? I'm Shauntelle. My name is Shauntelle. Use she, her pronouns. I am the executive director of an organization called Peters Place RVA. I am a person in recovery, but more so, I'm just a person. I'm a person who lives life and enjoy life, and um, I'm an advocate about a lot of things, but specifically rights for LGBTQIA plus individuals, specifically trans-identified folks, because I do identify as trans, and and that's just who I am in my life. But um, I'm more than just that, and recovery, and I'm glad that I'm able to bring that in spaces that like recovery is just not who I am only. It's not the only identity that I hold. And honestly, I don't want to make that, to me, I feel like recovery is not an identity. It's just a part of my life.
Indeed, indeed. More than anything, you are a person, you say. You're a person in recovery. You are a trans woman. You are an ally for LGBTQIA plus equity and rights, and the executive director of Peters Place RVA, and that is particularly around housing equity for LGBTQIA plus individuals who are overcoming a chaotic relationship with drugs. Is that
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Nailed it. Far out. Well,
Awesome.
I'm glad that I'm glad you're here. So we ask everyone, you're a person in recovery, and there are many expressions of what recovery is or what recovery means to people. And I ask everyone, and so what is recovery?
For me, I feel like recovery is my definition of recovery for myself is striving to have a better quality of life. It's about enhancing my life, becoming a better person, and living a life that's full of quality, love, and care and fun.
I like it. I like it. It sounds like the human journey.
Yeah.
Right on. And joining that journey in your authentic fashion. And recovery sounds like a personal experience for you. And I dig it. I dig it a lot. So tell me a little bit more about Peter's Place.
Yeah. So Peters Place is a LGBTQIA plus specific recovery organization. Right now, we focus on just recovery housing and advocacy work. And so within that scope, we do trainings around how to support LGBTQIA plus people in recovery, how to make your recovery space more inclusive to this community. And and also we do a lot of things around equity and justice and racism in recovery spaces and how they show up, but also how to work towards building a space that's not grounded in white supremacy. Let's just say it
Right
like
on.
that, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's kind of who we are and where we're at, and we're constantly expanding and growing. But right now, most of our work is around housing.
Right on. Right on. So you're doing the work to create that equitable space to address the white supremacist underpinnings that of the inequity in this space, but you're also helping other folks to help navigate doing the work as well.
Right. Yeah. Because For me, when I got into recovery and I wanted to have access to housing, there
Mhm.
was no access to housing for me and my identity. So, in order to have a safe space, or what will be considered a safe space um, in recovery, to have that structure, to have that support in recovery housing, I had to leave my personal identities outside of the door. I had to hide who I was. I had to live in spaces that were not built for me, but also had to be in harmful spaces where, there was a lot of comments and jokes and things like that about folks who lived in who were a part of this specific community. So I
And
felt like it was a need for me to build housing, to provide housing, um, because I didn't have it. And I didn't want other folks to experience what I experienced. But also, just like I was getting calls from folks or meeting folks who were part of the trans community specifically, who wanted access to recovery housing and couldn't get that, and didn't have access to recovery housing,
mm,
and didn't have a place that would take them because of their identity. And I just got tired of that. And it was like, well, these people are not going to do it. Then someone has to do it.
someone has to do it.
Mhm.
It not having a safe space to live in early recovery is an added challenge that simply should not exist. Having unsafe space, you um, successfully navigated that, whether it is through some outside support you had or some innate resilience, but you feel called to not having to have folks fall in those same pitfalls that you had to navigate. I think that's beautiful. Sounds like you've found a lot of purpose in your life right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. People need access to sustainable housing, right? Regardless if they're in recovery or not, that everyone, let's back that up. They don't need, they deserve to have sustainable housing.
Right on.
Everyone deserves to have safe housing, right? And how can you expect me to focus on my recovery, to focus on bettering my quality of life, having a better quality of life? How can you expect me to do all these things that are expected of folks when they're first getting into recovery, if I have to worry about where I'm gonna sleep tonight, if I don't have a warm place to stay, if I don't have a house to live in, or if I have to go live in a place that I feel uncomfortable living in or unsafe living in, right? I can't like worry about
Yeah.
doing all these other things, and I don't have a place to live, right? I believe in the housing first model.
Mm,
I believe in you house people first and then you work on other things, right? Because someone can't be successful in all these other things. They can't worry about like going to a recovery meeting or going to a therapy appointment or going to IOP when they're constantly sitting here worried about where my next meal is going to come from. Like, where I'm going to sleep at tonight? How can I take a shower? How can I do these things, right? When you have all these things going on in your life and you have to worry about those things, there's no way I'm going to focus on going to a recovery meeting or how to not drink tonight or how to not use the drugs right now. I'm trying to worry about like where my next meal is coming from. So
yeah.
I believe in housing people, getting them the basic needs that they need. So at least some of that stress can be taken off of them, and
Yes.
then kind of work towards doing these other things.
That makes so much sense. And it is some best practice that is being embraced in areas not fully embraced. We have a bias against that. I was complicit in that system, coming from a place of privilege where though I had high problem severity and high problem complexity in my early recovery, I did not have the added burdens of housing insecurity or lack of transportation or lack of familial or community support or the added layers of the color of my skin or my gender identity. Yet I became a clinician who uttered the phrase, well, if I can do it, you can do it. So why don't you just come and do it? And it's a point of clinical humility to acknowledge that, but also to try and promote the work to get that changed. And I very much support housing first and equitable housing first, and acknowledging the added layers of barriers that very diverse people face. And we've had a one treatment size fits all and one recovery definition fits all for so long in this country. And you have been an important voice, and at times maybe even considered a gadfly by some folks. Yeah, keep reminding them that we're not there yet. And I've dug that the most. You've done something that I learned from the first time I met Tom Hill. He said, comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. And I think that that's something you do in good practice.
Awesome, thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
I guess, yeah.
Right on. What you talked about Peter's Place, and folks can find that on social media. They can find a website. It is housing, but it is also technical assistance as well.
Yeah, we do a lot of training around like equity and justice and different things like that, and inclusion. And housing specifically for the LGBTQ community who are seeking recovery support.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. We're seeing my last guest, her name is Gypsy Schlosser, and they have she's part of tour management that is particularly supportive of LGBTQIA plus artistry. And so a recognition of the need of creating space or holding space or supportive space, or recognizing the needs of those individuals. And so we're seeing that everywhere. I'm glad to see it in housing. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
What kind of music do you dig?
Oh, good question. So I am one of those individuals who, when I say I like all types of music, I truly do. I don't really vibe with country or bluegrass. That's just not my thing. So yeah, I'm not going to say like, oh, I like these things, but on a regular day, I listen to a lot of hip hop. I love hip hop. It's just natural to me. It just feels natural to me. My soul loves it. So I listen to a lot of hip hop, but sometimes I do have some other music that I throw into the mix. And usually like when I'm riding in a car and I have my little like playlist going, it's so many different genres of music just popping up, and whatever feels good to my soul that day is what I listen to. But my soul always resonates with hip hop.
Right on, right on. I think music is good medicine. I think music ought to be part of everyone's life. I don't want to impose it on folks, but it's been part of my recovery from the get-go and part of my life. Cool. So the music question, but what do you No Thanks But Yes features chill conversations with splendid people who have overcome a chaotic relationship with substances via many pathways. But what we also, but what I also like to do is I like to show, the joys of living in recovery, and that it's not always a trudge, that we're out there having fun. And we see a lot more of that on social media now. Tell me some, if you care to, some about the joy of your life. What do you do for fun?
Oh, the joys of my life. What is fun these days, right? Like, gosh,
Right.
I wish I knew how to have fun. Stay so busy with like running this organization and doing these things that like, gosh, what is fun? And also you throw the pandemic on top of it. It's just like, But no, things that I do for fun. So like something I have gotten into a lot recently was playing video games, right? Going back to that and just enjoying it. I'm really enjoying playing my Nintendo Switch. Mario, like Mario Kart, Party, and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it. Also like basketball, like sports. So like, I play a lot of like, well, not a lot. I'm not gonna act like I'm really good or I'm expert in this, but I enjoy playing like 2K and things like that, right?
I know.
I'm really allowing myself to just be in the moment and play some video games and just chill. To me, right now, that's fun. Like, being able to do something, being able to enjoy something, but also not put myself at risk for like the current pandemic and things. So just
Right on.
chilling in the house, playing video games and watching uh mindless stuff on TV.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No, hey man, I dig it and I don't beat myself up over it.
not at all.
Rediscovering new shows all the time. And started this podcast as part of pandemic, joy, and how do I express myself creatively and how do I continue to meet with people, go into more diverse mutual support meetings, all recovery meetings. Harm reduction works is a new one I'm really been digging on, going to. And we've got this outfit out of Western North Carolina called Seek Healing, and you should check them out.
Yeah.
We have some connection meetings that are really groovy, so trying to stay connected with people. I've been eating a lot though too, and it's been medicine and it's been joyful, but I'm trying not to beat myself over that, but it's yeah.
But we're humans, right? Like we can't beat ourselves up for being human and enjoying things or finding
Yes.
pleasure and stuff, right? That normally we might not, because we're also experiencing a pandemic and
Yes.
experiencing continuous trauma. And it's okay. It's okay to be kind to yourself and to allow yourself to experience things and not say like, oh my God, like normally don't do this or this is a problem. Just like it's here and it's working today and it's being in the moment and allow it to work.
First of all, we're human, and that's how you started this. That's a great callback, and I love it. So I want to get back to barriers and inequity experienced by various groups of individuals, but particularly LGBTQIA plus individuals and youth. Why do you think that these barriers exist, Shauntelle?
Oof. So first of all, I think barriers exist because of lack of education, a lack of knowledge, fear of the unknown, fear of people who don't look like you, fear of people who don't see the world like you, who don't identify with the things that you do, right? We fear things outside of our normal lives. And also, I think, a lot of those barriers exist out of folks wanting to have power, right? Positions of power. If I can put a barrier in place to keep you in a certain place, but it's going to give me a lot more privilege to have power, success, financial stability, then in some cases for some folks that's the way to go, right? And the barriers go on and on. So some of the barriers are a lack of access to things that people take for granted, like access to a bathroom, right? That's a barrier. And that's a barrier for a lot of folks in this community, having access to a bathroom in public spaces, right? Out of fear of a lot of things, right? Having access to housing, to safe, secure housing, right? There's a fear of, for some folks, even going into homeless shelters because of the rules and the regulations and where they will place people and put them in harm's way. And folks are scared. Like if I have to choose between trying to find somewhere to sleep on the street that I won't be harmed, than going into a shelter where I know that I probably stand a chance of either being physically or sexually abused in that space, I'm going to live on the streets. So there's barriers to housing and stuff like that, barriers to medical care. A lot of individuals don't understand. A lot of individuals are not knowledgeable enough to treat folks with different
Mhm.
identities and what they are used to. And some just don't care to. And there's a lot of discrimination, um, lack of access to jobs, discrimination around being hired, uh, discrimination around just accepting people for who they are and respecting them for who they are.
Mhm.
Lack of access to higher education, because as we know, there's a lot of barriers in place for marginalized folks and from folks from poor communities or lower income families or communities to actually access higher education. And the barriers just go on and on and on, right?
Indeed.
Um,
Indeed.
and it's sad. It's sad that like we are where we're at in 2022, that
2022.
folks are still battling to just have the basic rights as other folks.
Yeah. Barriers to the basic rights that other folks take for granted
Right.
throughout the entire spectrum of our life. And for speaking of mental and substance use issues in particular, treatment initiation, recovery maintenance, recovery housing, thriving in recovery, getting a job, going to school, everything, bathroom, safety, and at its root, fear of who is different, that which is different, and some motive of the retention of power and privilege.
Yes.
Wow, you painted a very clear picture of the barriers and philosophically what is at the root of these barriers. Sounds like there's a lot of work to do
Yeah.
to dismantle those. Lack of education. Education needs to happen. Power and privilege. Sounds like there's a lot of people in power and privilege that need to admit that they possess power and privilege, and and then the creation of additional resources for folks. That's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot of work, and oftentimes we'll see that work placed squarely on you.
Right.
You do the
Yeah.
work. You educate me. You
Yeah.
create the resources, and advocacy is a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
This is personal, but self-care is an individual thing. I did ask you about what you do for fun,
Right.
but
Mhm.
from a self-care lens, how do you
Yeah.
stay in the fight, Shauntelle?
Whew, good question. So for me, right, when I look at the idea of what self-care is and what that looks like and how to explore that and to take care of myself, right? When I think about care or self-care, I'm thinking about caring for myself, right? In whatever manner that is. And for me, self-care, it's not about, and that's just me personally, it's not about like, taking free time to go set out in a beautiful garden and read a book, or you know um, doing all these things, meditating for an hour, or going to, like, those things are cool and they work and they help me sometimes. But like for me, self-care is more so taking care of myself in the aspect to making sure that my life is good, right? So
Mhm.
self-care for me is making sure that I wash my clothes on Sunday, so that Monday I'm not like waking up in this like frantic state because I don't have what I need, and I'm stressed out and I have to be somewhere at a certain time, and all these things just piling up to make me upset or stress me out, right? It's about telling myself, take that time to go and clean your car out so you're not freaking out when you go on this trip and your car is a complete mess, and it's going to stress you out, right? It's about doing things to alleviate some stress in my life, right? It's telling myself to, you know, you have a little bit of free time, why not clean your house so that at the end of this week when you're just completely busy, you're not freaking out or stressed out because your space is not clean, because that stresses me out to be in an unclean space or a cluttered space, right? So for me, self-care is like doing things I need to do to care for my well-being, as far as my mental health and things like that, but also alleviating things in my life that I'm not stressing myself out even more than what I already am.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. That is brilliant, and it's practical and it's universal for folks, you know. It control that which we can control, not deliberately create chaos or drama that we have some control over. Man, I can so relate to the peace that an organized space or a closet full of folded clothes and a drawer full of warm socks. That's great. Thank you. And along with meditating by the river.
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
things like that are good. And those things do help, and
Sure.
they relax me. And sometimes it's just, going to get my nails and stuff done, because those things make me feel good about myself, and it gives me time to relax and stuff. But also, I know sometimes it's just, going to that therapy appointment. So, I can feel good the next day, or just I'm in a good space now, but let's go to this therapy appointment. So next week, when I'm not in a good space, I have those tools there to help me through it, right?
That's self-care investment. You're investing in next week. Man, Shauntelle, that's solid. And honestly, that I've asked everyone, about wellness, and no one has said that yet. And I think this is the advice that has resonated most with me. And so you've helped me. I'm gonna probably, hopefully, in the moment, maybe I won't, and I'll, hopefully, won't pay the dues too bad next week, but we'll try. Well, we've talked about, kind of how we met and who you are and what recovery is to you, what you're passionate about, what you do for fun. And I always end with some kind of, message. If you're up for it. You've already sent lots of messages that in and of themselves are succinct and clear and calls to action. But do you have a message that you want to leave folks with? The millions of viewers of this.
My message is to be kind to folks, to be kind to yourself, show up for people. If you're going to do something, do it. If you say that I'm going to stand by something, stand by it. Action means a lot more than words. And just be gentle with yourself. We all make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes sometimes, and you're going to mess up, but it's what you do after that mistake happens that what really counts and matters. And just be gentle with yourself, because no one's perfect, and we're going to mess up, and allow yourself the grace to mess up and to learn and change. Right
on. Back to the human experience. We're humans. Allow yourself to be human. Be gentle with yourself. Be kind. Show up.
Right.
I love it. Great message. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that we won't be strangers, for sure.
Not at all.
Cool.